So first of all, thank you, Zoltan and team, to invite us today. Myself, I'm Jolley. I'm responsible for, across EMEA, our technical enablement team to transition our customers across from Windows Mobile to Android and to support our customers in doing that. Alongside of me, I've got Pietro Maggi, who is our software expert from Europe, Thierry Becklin, who is based in France, and the local team, Jolt, Mate, and Imran, who are around the room. So during the day, please feel free to come and speak to us and ask any questions you've got. I'm also really happy to have with us Andy Smolik from the Google Enterprise team here today, who will speak after me. And Andy has been working alongside our team over the last 12 to 18 months, again, to support our customers on the journey and on the transition. So hopefully things you hear today are real life. They are happening today. We've been very fortunate to work with a lot of customers, moving them from their legacy platforms to their new ones. So I'm just going to start off with a bit of a high-level introduction of where we are in the world, just to give you some ideas on stats and some numbers. So in 2016, around 2.5 billion smartphones were sold. And a stat, I'm going to steal it from Andy, but there's more Android phones today bought than babies born per day, right? It's an amazing stat, right? You think about that and how the world is growing from a mobile space. And if we look at it from a percentage basis and a market share, Android is around 80% of the market and growing. So you can see here, we've gone from 83 to 85, just over a 12-month period. And the Q2 numbers should be coming out soon, and I expect it to grow again. The iPhone 8 hasn't been released yet. Clearly, when that comes, it'll take a few percent. But during the Q2, there was nothing new from them, so I'd expect to see that growth. And there are some other OSs that are in the mix. We've still got Windows Mobile. We've still got Windows CE and Windows Phone. And this operating system, Badu, here, is one that's mainly seen in China. So this also includes all the Chinese market. And if you think of the size of the Chinese market, it's still nothing in comparison to the power of Android. So the largest consumer OS is moving into the enterprise. We take best practice from what we've seen in the consumer world over the last 5 years and are now transitioning it into critical mission systems and applications. So just to give you an idea of where we've come from our market. So the enterprise probably is around 5% of the entire global number of mobile devices. So it's a small segment, but for us, clearly it's an important segment. And if we look at where we've come from 2014 to 2016, you can see the segments here of what was sold in the marketplace and what the share was. So clearly on the 2014, Windows Mobile, you can see, was a dominant force. And from our perspective, it was still a major part of our business. We were still selling more Windows Mobile than anything else. But you can see as the time moves forward and we go to 2015 and 2016, the percentage of Android is increasing. And we look forward to 2016 and where we were for the first quarter of this year. So these are Zebra's stats of how many units we actually shipped from our facility to our end users. So these are our direct numbers that I took. You can see, again, it's increased now to 32%. And where do we see it going? We see that this number is going to get bigger and bigger. And at the end of the year, we expect our 2017 pie chart like this to show a 50-50 in terms of Android devices to Windows Mobile. So Zebra is fully committed to to Android. We were one of the first in the marketplace to deliver an Android unit. If anyone's ever seen the ET1 tablet, we delivered that around 6 years ago, even before I joined Zebra. So a long time ago now. And we see that there's only one place that this market share is going. Now, why do I say that? I think there's some important dates, and Zoltan, I apologize if you've already said this. So here's a question for anybody, and I hope, Zoltan, you haven't already stolen this one. Does anybody know when Windows 6.5 was released? Anyone got any ideas? How long ago do we think it was? Anybody? 2009, right? 2009 it was released, okay? It's a long, long time ago, right? And that was the latest version that Windows released for the 6.5. So all those devices you've got out there have got at least just, an 8-year-old operating system since their last major update. Okay, there's been some small patches, but there's been no incremental release. And we think about Android's release cycle and new features and updates in a much more regular perspective. And then Windows CE. So CE, for those that don't know, is the cut down version of Windows Mobile. Slightly later, so we had a CE7, so that was the latest one. CE7 was released in 2011. Okay, so slightly newer, but again, nothing new, nothing updated. And we look at this, and this is freely available on the internet. The end of release and end of support of the Windows platforms. So I'll highlight them because at the back you can see them. So here on the left, I've got Windows Mobile 6.5, and on this side we have CE. We see the dates here of 2021, okay, and 2020. You probably all heard that Windows Mobile goes end of life in 2020, okay? I'm sure you've all heard that. But what does it actually mean? So what it means is that at 2020, from a Zebra perspective, we are an OEM of a device that runs Windows Mobile. At that date, we will not have any way to get any fixes, any support, any kind of issue. If you find a major issue, we have no way of getting support, okay? So that means for the companies who have security policies, who have upgrade policies, we will not be able to support any fixes at that point. And it's the same for CE 2021. Clearly, we'll continue to support devices that are out there in the field. We'll repair them, we'll replace them, any under service contract, and we'll do our best to do what we can. But ultimately, it's outside of our control once it goes past that date, okay? So if customers have policies around making sure it's up to date, latest, greatest, all those sides, this is the time to move because at 2021 and 2020, it's outside of our control. And if you've got any questions on those dates or those questions, come speak to us because it's important that you understand where that might fall. So why the move now and why do it? So we see 3 major reasons that people are moving at this point. The first one being around the Internet of Things, everyone's favorite phrase, right? What does the Internet of Things mean? So connectivity, making sure that you have the right thing at the right place and be able to act on it. And from a Zebra perspective, the sense, analyze, act model of knowing what's happening, sensing it, then acting on it, and then afterwards analyzing why you've done that and how it's happened. So the Internet of Things allows us to have more connected people. It allows us to have more information and make sure we have the right results at the end of it. From the cloud perspective, making sure we have the best connectivity. Servers have moved from the farms inside of a customer, and they've gone to the cloud. It's much easier to manage. But you need to make sure you have the platform, the connectivity to go there. And the new devices with the 4G, with the wireless chips that give you the better speed, allow that connectivity. And then the things below, mobility, that's what we all do, right? That's why we all move forward. But with laser to imaging, so having a 2D imager to allow scanning of mobile phones, of more data on a barcode. That's a major reason. And then clearly the OS transition. And some of the use cases below, I'll just try and step through. So I've looked at it from 3 verticals: healthcare, retail, and manufacturing and transport and logistics. And you may not fall into a specific category, but I'm sure you can take some ideas of where we've seen the technology and where the trends have come. So if I take healthcare, digitalization of healthcare workflows. So what do I mean by that? I mean you've got a patient who may be at home or maybe in a hospital. And today, the majority of people take their notes on a piece of paper, take it to the office and move forward. What are we seeing? We're seeing now people are collecting that data using dedicated devices. With the ease of creating an application, the ease of collecting the data, and the manageability, we're moving forward with collecting that. From a track and trace perspective, collecting the information off medical equipment, of syringes, of medicine. This is going to become compulsory soon, that every single item of medication has a unique identification. So that means every packet of pills or every syringe or every medicine tube will have a unique identification, which will need manageability and tracking. And then where we see other things, such as voice communication, being able to talk across a ward, being able to print labels or information that you want to collect. We're seeing a lot more technology hit into these. If I look into retail, shop anywhere, anytime. So what do I mean by that? I mean you're at home, you want to order something. I've got a chart I'll show you in a second around e-commerce. But this is meaning that the customer journey wants to be as good as possible. So that means click and collect in a store. That might be creating a kiosk. But that whole user interaction needs to have a front end. It needs to have a device. It needs to have a kiosk. It needs to have a screen. And by the flexibility of Android, it means you can have one application to do everything or create nice, simple flows. And this is where we see around a platform. So whether you're doing voice picking in a warehouse or you're doing store replenishment in a store, again, we've got devices and a platform to move forward. And finally, from an enhanced customer experience, something like the personal shopper device at the bottom here, that actually gives the customer the increased visibility of what they're doing in the store. They get the information, they get the data there and then, so it improves that whole customer journey. And finally, on manufacturing and T&L, you may wonder why I've put a slide here about e-commerce in Hungary on a transportation and logistics slide. Okay? Now, I haven't put it on the wrong slide. Okay? But what it shows you here is, look at the growth, okay? And where we're going. In 2016, 5.2% growth. I did some research. That's the biggest e-commerce growth in EMEA. Okay? So Hungary is moving. And what does that mean? That means there's going to be more people delivering parcels. Right? And what does that mean? That means there's more guys that need to do track and trace, that need to do the collections, that need to get the signature. And from other countries that I've worked in, this has been the biggest single growth that I have seen of mobile terminals. So from a UK perspective, we have seen the number of mobile devices for delivery people probably go 20 times where we were 2 years ago. The likes of Amazon have started creating their own delivery fleets. So there's definitely a huge opportunity from an e-commerce perspective to transition customers and move forward. Something like vehicles. So if any of you have a fleet, knowing where the fleet is at what time, what dock door it's coming to, where they are in our yard. Again, that's technology can help there. And then docking, cross-docking. The number one biggest issue from a warehouse, putting the wrong pallet on the wrong truck and it ending up 500 kilometers away. The whole getting it back and moving it forward. And then just generally an improved workflow from picking in a truck or signing. So just to close down, things are positive. Here's some growth from an enterprise IT spend, so worldwide and locally here. You can see that locally, actually, in 2015, things were really bad, and we all know that. But you can see we're on the up, and the spending from an IT perspective is definitely going to go up. And here's some stats around Android, and these are some Zebra stats, so I slightly apologize. But you can see that 99% of the OS is going to be unsupported that is in the enterprise. And there's a lot of devices to be moved forward.